I think people often don't realize they're afraid. They just feel stuck in the decision making process or the overwhelm, and they don't realize it's actually fear. So, one, that awareness is really important. But two, a lot of people think they're afraid of failure when they're actually afraid of success. Two. Hi, this is Monica Packer, and you're listening to About Progress, where we are about progress made practical. When I first began this podcast, I was not scared at all. That fear came later. When I began About Progress, I was already in the space of creating for creating's sake. And that's because 11 months prior to beginning About Progress, I did start something that I had been terrified of doing for literal years: writing online. Yes, a blog. For years prior, 8 years to be exact, I had sat in really loving the blogging space and wanting to do so as well, but not because I was afraid. I thought I wouldn't be good enough. I wondered what would happen if nobody read it. I wasn't sure I had the writing chops, that anyone would be interested in what I had to say. I had this fear of putting in all the work and not going anywhere. And weirdly, the idea of starting and then stopping was even more scary to me than beginning in the first place. But when I finally did, several years too late, by the way, if we're thinking industry-wise, I found that some of my fears were realized, but most were not. And beginning my blog, which was called About Progress, gave me the courage to try more and to try scared. And all of that trying is what finally led to the podcast. What if fear isn't a sign that you are not ready, but proof that your dream matters? Today, you will hear me coach Abbie, a woman standing at the edge of a long-held dream to begin her own creative business. But what's stopping her isn't a lack of skill, it's the fear of what potential failure and even success might mean about her. We dig deeply into why starting something personal can feel so vulnerable, how people-pleasing holds us back from trusting ourselves, and what it really looks like to messily move forward even when you're scared. If you've ever felt stuck at the starting line of your own dream, this conversation will give you clarity, comfort, and the next small step you need to do something anyway. That coaching call is coming up after a quick break for our sponsors, including a very fun announcement. Do you have enough money saved to be on track for retirement? Same thing for college for your kids. Are you spending more than you need to on groceries? And how should you be budgeting these days? These are the types of questions we brought to our financial planner, Elizabeth from Fearless Finance, a business built on making financial advice accessible and affordable. With Fearless Finance, you don't have to have a minimum net worth. You don't have to worry about your planner working off of commissions or selling to you. And you don't need to question your questions. If you're ready to feel less anxious and more empowered about your finances, check out Fearless Finance. You meet with your planner virtually, and they charge by the hour. You only pay for the time you use down to the quarter hour. Their planners meet you where you are on your financial journey. No judgment. Whether you're looking to pay off student loans, buy a house, or just want to make sure your finances are okay, they can answer your questions. No question is too small. No problem is too big. Visit fearlessfinance.com today. You can chat with the planner for free to make sure it's a good fit, and you'll get $50 off your first planning meeting when you use the code PROGRESS. Again, go to fearlessfinance.com and use the code PROGRESS. This podcast is sponsored by Go Pure Beauty. You may already know this about me, but I love skincare. I have been so hyper diligent about taking care of my face since my early 20s, thanks to a great dermatologist I happened to visit at the time. But guess what I forgot about for most of those years? My neck. Did you forget too? The skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate, and less oily than facial skin, so it requires special care. That's why Go Pure Beauty developed their revolutionary Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. Powered by clinically proven active ingredients, this advanced formula is designed to visibly firm, smooth, and rejuvenate the delicate skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. I've been using the Tighten and Lift neck cream, and I've been loving it. The silky texture is so nice. My very sensitive skin has responded to it very well, and that's thanks to it being paraben and sulfate-free and made without harsh chemicals. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off GoPure with code PROGRESS at checkout. And GoPure isn't just about your neck. They have a full line of science-backed skin and body care to brighten, hydrate, and restore your glow from head to toe. From powerful vitamin C serums to deeply hydrating retinol moisturizers, every product is packed with clean, effective ingredients that deliver real results. With over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off GoPure with code PROGRESS at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com/progress, use code PROGRESS, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about GoPure, tell them it was from our show. I have a big, exciting announcement and personal invitation for you. Come to Rome with me. Is there anything better than being totally taken care of? For years, I've taught the importance of being on your own list. This is most often done in small and simple ways, but occasionally we choose to do something big and outside the norm to deeply prioritize ourselves. So what if you did that with me and in Rome, Italy? I am so overjoyed to announce that I am partnering with Female Foodie to host a tour to Rome in October of 2026. This trip will, of course, be full of great food and excellent accommodations, but most important to me, it's your opportunity to be deeply cared for. Your job is to get to Italy. Our job is everything else. Sign-ups for the tour will be this fall, September 9th, to the waiting list only, with the general public getting access the next day if there are any spots left. If you're not familiar with Female Foodie tours, know that they sell out in literal minutes. Getting a tour exclusive to just the About Progress community is all kinds of special. You can get on the waiting list to ensure your best chance of reserving those extra limited spots before they sell out by going to aboutprogress.com/Italy. This tour must be booked with 2 or more guests at a time, so get a friend or 5 committed to come with you. And by the way, if you do have more than 2 coming, please reach out to me at hello@aboutprogress.com so we can assist you with that. I am so looking forward to doing something extra special and exploring the magic of Rome with you while adding my personal touch to the signature Female Foodie tour. Again, to get on the waiting list and first dibs to our limited spots, go to aboutprogress.com/Italy. Abbie, thanks for doing this coaching call with me today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, I grew up in Pennsylvania on the East Coast, and then I went to college, did all the normal things, ended up getting married, then divorced, and I just needed a fresh start. So I moved out to Utah about 8.5, almost 9 years ago, and it's been really great. I got my MBA at the U a few years ago, unfortunately during COVID. So it was hard.
Very
We
hard.
went away for spring break and never went. So, but it was great. Met some wonderful people there, and I've just been kind of jumping around since then. And most recently, I've moved to St. George, and trying to figure out where to go next, I guess.
Got it. Yeah. So you're kind of contemplating some shifts in your life, and that's what you want to come and talk to me about today, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me more. Like, what, if you were to phrase it as a question, what would that be?
My question would be, how do you push past the fear of a dream, I guess? I attended the Dreamers Workshop and been kind of thinking about this. I have always wanted to be a small business owner. But I'm afraid of any outcome, honestly, of putting the work in. And it's like, well, what if it works? Then what's next? What if it doesn't work? Then what's next? kind of
Yeah,
just even kind of getting past that point of just doing it because the fear is stopping me from even attempting what I really want.
got it. I'm really impressed that you already know that you're afraid of any outcome. And I'm sure you're like, wait, why is it impressive? I think people often don't realize they're afraid. They just feel stuck in the decision making process or the overwhelm and they don't realize it's actually fear. So, one, that awareness is really important. But two, a lot of people think they're afraid of failure when they're actually afraid of success, too. And you've already pinpointed that about yourself. Success takes lots of work, right?
Yeah, yeah. And success can mean so many different things, I think. As sometimes I would say in my younger years, success would have meant like, oh, well, then you become this big CEO of your own company. And so I'm like, well, if I can't get to CEO status, then what's the point of even trying? But now it's like, oh, there's also different levels of success. And so it's scary because you're like, success can mean something different. And what if that's not what I meant to happen? Or things like that. There's so many things. Outcomes,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay, good. That's something to think about too. Is just like there's no certainty in this path.
That I think that hit the nail on the head, honestly.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a dumb question, and I'm going to ask you more questions. The dumb question is, has there been certainty in your career in not owning your own business? Have you had certainty in your career?
Absolutely not.
Fascinating. Huh. Okay. So because we know that, and you know that logically, we kind of have to dig under these fears a little bit and the fears of uncertainty with it to really get at the root of what you actually are afraid of. Because it doesn't seem like you're afraid of the uncertainty of the outcomes and what they could be. You're afraid of something deeper. So can we go there? And that's where I was going to ask you more questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's dig at the roots. We got to
Okay.
excavate a bit. I'm thinking two different ways we can do that. I can either just straight up ask you, what are you afraid of? And see what comes up. How about we start there? And if nothing comes up, we'll try a different route. What are you afraid of?
Mm, yes, I would say that the first thought when you said, "Oh, I think there's something a little deeper here," I in my mind I was like, "Well, this is more personal. This is more personal.
The
This is
business. It feels more personal. Is that what you're
me
saying?
being self-employed is more personal than just going to a company that's not a good fit."
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like often,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, this feels a little bit more like me being rejected if it doesn't work,
Yeah.
or a lot more judgment on me personally than if I attempt a job and then I'm like, thank you for the opportunity. This is just not really what I want right now. Maybe that's also a little bit more control too, because then I can just step away from this company. Whereas my small business, it's me, it's actually me, and say, Abbie, this is just not what I want right now. Good luck.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you I very much relate. This is something I have taught for years that we have to detach our identity from our outcomes. But what I don't often say is one of the biggest ways to challenge that belief is to have your own business that feels like an extension of you. So there's some wisdom in that fear because it puts you in a vulnerable position. Okay. We're going to talk more about what to do with that wisdom though, so that you're not just leading by the fear side of it too. Is there anything else that you're afraid of?
Nothing that's necessarily coming to mind other than I think, and this has just been something that has been like a common theme just throughout my life too, of like, what if I put in all this work
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work out? Which
Yeah.
logically I know that I would learn a lot, but there still is that rejection in there of like, hey, you attempted this and it didn't, like, you didn't make any money, or it just, you didn't get anywhere with it. And so,
Mhm.
and I think it's maybe, the other side of the coin of it's still a little bit of that rejection and tying the outcome to my self-worth.
Yeah, I think your initial answer was the core of the fear, right? And how all the other fears of like, what if I fail? What if I succeed? And all the other branch out fears that go with it still all point back to that core fear of me. Like it's about me, actually. Okay. So, in order for us to get to a place where you can be aware of that, but not letting it lead you in the lack of decisions or even the over deciding, which we could do too. Um, we have to get to back what I said earlier about detaching your identity from your outcomes. And one of the most important ways I have found to do that with any woman, regardless of what they're working on, but including with owning your own business, is you've got to get back to the heart of why that matters to you. So maybe we can put you back into that workshop a little bit. And as you were, participating in that workshop, there was a spark that came up for you. Can we lean into that a little bit and tell me more about like what was that spark? What was the kind of feeling and why has this been a desire for you for a long time?
There's been a little bit of work that I've just been doing with therapy and myself as well, of just learning to trust myself.
Yeah.
Which this is all related. I was just like, what would happen if I did trust myself? And even just in small things, it can be a little difficult. So I think the workshop came just like at this point where I've been thinking a lot about this, and it kind of made me realize you've been thinking a lot, Abbie, but
Yeah.
you're not really moving, and it's really hard to like direct a car if there isn't any movement, right? Like you can't really turn the steering wheel when you're in park. And so I think there was a little bit of that push of like, yes, you can sit and think and dream about it, but also part of the workshop was like, how are you going to take action on it? Or how are you going to just start? And that is just like it makes so much sense, but also again, it's a little scary of just like, okay, you've been talking about trusting yourself. Why don't you try it? It's like, oh, never thought of that. We thought about everything else, but not that. So I think that that's where it was. And I will say that after that workshop, I applied for my business license here, and it was accepted this week. And the email should have been exciting, but I was literally scared to death when I got the email of like, hey, you're approved now. Now you've got to do it. Kind of. You got to just start somewhere. And so again, it's like that gave me a little push to do a little bit, but then I'm still like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like I want this, and I've kind of wanted this for a long time, but I'm a crafter. So like it would be more of like a crafting business. And so that's an art form. And art is a little more emotional than just saying like bookkeeping, which I also do too. So like, if you don't like the numbers are 1 + 1 = 2. Crafting, like I don't like the colors you put together. That's also again back to the identity.
Yeah, I can see how both like the desires but also the fears relate to you. The desires to do this, it's like starting your own business is both a tool but also a test to advance your self-trust. And you're ready for that, but you haven't really done it before. Why don't you trust yourself very much? Can we dig into that just a bit? That'll help me understand.
Yeah.
What's been your history with that?
Yeah, I've always been more of like a people pleaser. More of like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about me. But by doing that, I think I've had to put myself on the back burner, even when somebody didn't ask me to. I just, right, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, my friends need. So my stuff isn't important. I need to be there for them. No one's asked me. I just do it because I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And so there is more of a natural tendency now that I've kind of taught myself to do that leading up to this. I'm in mid-30s now, and you do that your whole life. That's second nature now. Like, things that you want are secondary to people, other people. And so coming back to, oh, you can take time out of your day to help yourself, it just doesn't feel natural sometimes.
Mm.
And then I get very frustrated that I'm not where I want to be, right? Because I haven't taken the time to help myself. And so it kind of ends up being this downward spiral. And I'm trying to reverse the spiral a little bit, but because I have the, like your neural pathways are just so strong of like, no, anything that's you, make sure nobody else needs anything first.
So that's coming back to that core. And it seems to be the core is how you see yourself. And trusting what you want, valuing what you want. Because how you just described your people-pleasing tendencies, it's a pattern of valuing yourself and what you want and what you need and the dreams you have less in order to value others. It's like an either or thing. Like either I help other people, or I value them and what they're going through, and I devalue myself, or I value myself and then I don't care about anyone else. It's like that paradigm is pretty strong.
Yeah, kind of a black and white of like, there's no middle ground kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that downward spiral that can take you on. And I like that you already previewed something that I like to teach, that the spiral goes both ways. So just like you can spiral down, you can spiral up. I'll teach you more about how to do that in just a moment. But here's the thing about the spiral. I didn't say you like just upshoot up. It's a spiral, meaning it's cyclical, it's messy, it involves revisiting things, it involves some failures or disappointments or frustrations, but you're still spiraling upward. And then the more you stick with that and know that this is what it looks like to change, the more you stay going that direction. It matters more what direction you're going in this spiral than necessarily how it's looking on the outside or even on the inside. So what I'm wanting to do is to help in this process of a business. It's actually about shifting which direction you're facing and being willing to create new patterns of self-trust, self-value, and patterns of not an either or, but an and. And valuing myself and others, I can move this direction. I can do these things. And I can trust myself. How is that imagery helping you? What is it bringing up?
It's very helpful because I feel like it's easier to chew on. We're going to still like be in a spiral, but we're just going a different direction rather than like completely jump out of the cycle. Like,
Yeah.
we're just not even going to be in that at all. That's such a bigger shift than like, hey, we're just going to change directions and it's still going to be a cycle. So you already know what a cycle is. Let's just use that knowledge instead of like everything that you're doing now, we're just going to cut off and we're going to try again. That's harder. Like such a steeper hill to climb.
I also think it makes it less personal. So when you have a frustration or a disappointment or make a mistake, you don't immediately think you're doing it wrong and therefore something's wrong with you. It's more like, hey, this is the expected part of the process of getting better and of growing and of spiraling up. So how can I work with this, but in a different way? My love of having cleaner indoor air must be something you all know about me by now, because one of my most common questions that comes in on my direct messages is, what's that air purifier again? Well, it's Air Doctor, the award-winning air purifier that eliminates 99.99% of dangerous contaminants like allergens, viruses, smoke, gases, mold spores, and more. Americans spend an average of 90% of their time indoors. But did you know that indoor air can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air? We know it in the Packer household because one of our kids happens to have pretty bad indoor allergies, and our new doctor was relieved to hear that we already have an air purifier in our home. Unlike other purifiers, Air Doctor captures invisible particles 100 times smaller than standard HEPA filters, making the Packer household very happy customers. I recently burned something in my oven, and I was so happy to see that my Air Doctor kicked right into high gear automatically all on its own because it could sense that something was a little bit off in our main area. You can experience the joy of Air Doctor and breathe cleaner. Just head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code MONICA to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee plus a 3-year warranty and $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctorpro.com. That's airdoctorpro.com using promo code MONICA. For years, I have been teaching women how to do habits differently. I have been so grateful to see the concepts that have changed the most for you with responses from women of our community, like, you are changing the habit game for all of us. And this is so needed. And you should write a book on this. Well, guess what? I am. And I'm so eager for you to get your hands on it, hopefully sometime in 2026. And since I can't share the title yet, and also since I may end up self-publishing, I need a committee of gal pals, if you will, like you, who are ready to be my early test readers, to pre-order the book, and to act as grassroots publicists the moment each of those steps are made ready. Would you like to be on that book launch committee? Get on the free list by going to aboutprogress.com/book committee. Even if you just want to be the first in the know with any book news, that's where you sign up. Again, go to aboutprogress.com/book committee. It's in the show notes for you. I can't wait to share as much as I can with you along the way, and I am already so grateful for your support. One of the ways I'm filling my cup is returning more to my teaching roots and offering affordable online workshops to this community on very niche topics that I know you both want and need. I recently did the How to Dream Again workshop, helping women gain clarity on what more they want in their lives. And coming up, I'll be teaching the Best Summer Ever workshop, practically guiding women to craft a summer for the scrapbooks. More online workshops are coming, but you can get information on and access to these workshops and the replays by going to aboutprogress.com/workshops. For just $17, you can invest some time and thought into making progress in your life and in ways per usual to this community that are both deep and practical. Again, check out what's available by going to aboutprogress.com/workshops, and workshops is plural. Let me teach you how to do that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It really comes down to two big words, and one is awareness, and the second is affirmation. Awareness is half the battle to improving anything internally about the way we want to see ourselves in the world or patterns of thought and behavior we're trying to shift. It's awareness of what's going on in our head and in our body that are creating those patterns. And that awareness can be applied to the bad patterns, like just being aware of them, but also can apply to when you're noticing that you're actually making progress in some good ways, where you may have the same trigger, but you're choosing a different response. So you may have the same trigger of someone being like, are you sure it's a good time to start your own personal small business? Is it a good time to leave your job? And maybe the old you would have been like spiraling down with that, thinking, oh gosh, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. And who do I think I am? And they're right. Like, I don't have the capital for this. And who's going to pay for the bill? Like, you spiral down. And you could have the same trigger and you're like, yeah, that's scary. See how it's not perfect? Like, no, be quiet. Like, I'm the best person in the world and I achieve everything I ever want. And so, like, yeah, that's scary. That's scary. But I know who I am and I know why I'm doing this. And there are risks involved and I want to be aware of them. I'm trying to spiral up, but I'm willing to still do this next step and this next step because I will regret more not trying now than I will if I do try and it doesn't go great. Because I trust that it will lead me to the next thing and it will also help me rebuild my trust in myself.
I like that mindset a lot because I will say that I feel like I am pretty self-aware on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were just saying, oh yeah, that's hard. Okay, what's the next step then? If this is really what I want to do, I have a purpose behind it. I have the need behind it. Whereas before, like the other side where you're saying like, no, I'm great. I think there's been some times where I've been like, I'm just gonna ignore
Mm-hmm.
you know, the risk, I guess,
Yeah.
involved because I don't want to look at it because that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just gonna pretend that it's not there.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
another either or paradigm again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So self-trust doesn't have to mean you're fear-free. Self-trust doesn't mean that you won't have doubts or you won't make mistakes. Um, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have fears. You're going to do things wrong. And, so it doesn't have to be an either or equation to earn the trust and to work with the risks and to be aware of them too. So awareness was noticing what's happening. What are the triggers in the environment or internally that create different thoughts? And then affirm is basically the process of how our thoughts and our behaviors affirm the thoughts that we are having with ourselves. So, like in the spiral down, you're kind of affirming this identity in yourself by going that direction. But in the reverse, you are affirming a different way of seeing yourself while still being aware of the truth. We're not going to be Pollyanna and neglect the truth. There are risks to doing this. It is scary and you're going to have tough decisions, but being aware of those things doesn't mean you have to be led by them either. And you can affirm this trust that you're rebuilding as you go. One additional way to add to that affirmation piece is whenever you notice yourself afraid, but choosing to trust yourself anyway, or when you make a hard decision, or like anything that's reflective of, hey, look, I can trust myself. Literally affirm it. Literally say, look at me. I can trust myself. And that actually helps with this pattern. It's like you said, the neural pathways. This is literally the science to it. It will change the cells in your brain. Even in affirming it, you are changing these patterns, these neural pathways, so that you will be able to spiral up more naturally and more sustainably over time too.
I like her.
So I actually call that the progress cycle. It's spiraling up. And but it can also, it can lead to spiraling down. And it's not usually a concept I often teach in a shorter segment because it's kind of like one of those brain busters a bit. I think we're getting it though. It just comes back to if we're going to even remove that cycle stuff, it's just awareness and affirmation. So that's how you're going to move through this with the fears intact. Let's go back to the why though, because we were fleshing that out a bit. You had a personal why. It's it's like the ultimate tool and test of self-trust. But what else about having a business is meaningful to you and serves a larger purpose to you?
I think the freedom to set my own schedule,
Yeah.
and to be able to change and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly the freedom, I guess, because that's also the freedom and growth is where do I want to go with this? If in 2 years I decide that, hey, I was making bags or something and I want to change to a different craft or something, or even like even like bookkeeping, right? Like my niche is I want to help small business owners or something like that, where I think sometimes in the corporate environment, you can like climb a ladder, but you don't necessarily have as much freedom. If there's a morning that I wake up and I am not feeling well, I don't want to feel guilty or have to take PTO because I can't go into the office or signed on.
That sounds like a good value to lean on, why this matters to you. I also heard possibility in that. That's something you seem to value, the possibility, the openness of being able to not only have the flexibility with your time, but also the potential of what you could do with this. And your ability to change course is actually a big draw. I was kind of imagining you starting a crafting business of sorts. And even though you were talking about fears, I actually labeled them as more of your why as well. You know, some of your fears that this is more personal, but that's actually part of, I think, what is drawing you to this work is it is more personal too. Like that's actually a draw as well, not for you, just you, but also for your clients to be able to do something that is not I'm never going to say this word. Let's say it. Egalitarian. Did I say it right?
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
To not do something egalitarian or like practical, but actually like artistic and craftsy, and it still being of value, of helping them invest in themselves with their time. And I don't know if it's you teaching people how to do things or you giving them products that just help them value beautiful things, but that still is part of it, I think, as well as like the opportunity to make things more personal and valuable just because they are. Does that sound right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I find it funny that like you're the second person I think like in the last couple of weeks that has mentioned like, oh, I can see that this is kind of the direction you're going when I didn't even really say that, where like I would love to teach classes because I think that anyway, the philosophy behind it is making and creating is so fun and it can be freeing and, you know, spreading that joy almost. So it just, I guess I'm a little surprised because I'm like, I guess it just exudes when I'm talking. Like, that's really what I want to do.
I think you're like getting close to what your tagline is for your business. You're getting there. Something about that. Like we make for making sake. The joy in making for making sake or something like that. Anyway, strategy aside, that is still reflective of this is why you're here. This is it. So I said this in another recent call that we aired on the show. Like we have to get to the point where your desires outweigh your fears. And it doesn't mean the fears go away. It's just by a slight scale. The desires just weigh a little bit more than the fears. If that's where you can get to, then you're able to still make progress in it. So in wording those things, how does that help you with that, where you are in that teeter-totter, that scale actually?
Even just putting it in like a scale situation seems much more manageable than just, again, the cut and dry either or of just like get rid of all the fears first.
Yeah.
Then you can get there. But, you know, when it's a scale, like we'll just take one rock from one side, put it to the other for now. Just do one, one at a time. And even just saying that, like my blood pressure is like lower.
Yeah.
Just move one or, put one on both sides. You have fear and desire rather than just fear. Then it seems so uneven and almost impossible to get past.
And oftentimes in dissecting the fears, you're actually going to flip the coin and see what the desires are underneath it. Your fear of it being more personal is also your desire to do something more personal.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you may find others like that. So yeah, I love that image of putting a stone on each side, but in doing so, you actually are like, oh, wait a second. Even that fear stone has another desire. So I'm going to still like half of that and put it over here. And it still helps you with that scale. Michael Hyatt says, when you know your why, you'll know your way. A lot of times we're at the start of something big like this and personal. We get stuck in the way. And really the way, you can Google it. Like Pinterest will have, here's how to start whatever business you want, A to Z. Rarely will it go according to that plan. But still the heart of it is you'll be able to find your way if you have your why leading it. And I think that's what's going to help you the most right now is maybe you can create a little vision board or just a way to sit with your why a little bit before you lean into the work for your day. So that way you can have that settling in and that clarity that helps you know what the next steps are.
I love that idea because I do think my brain works very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I forget, I guess, to even just like stop, even just personal day. Like, okay, what if we took 5 minutes in the morning to just sit here and breathe and my day goes better?
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense that in a business setting, like you can't just like sit down to a sewing machine and sew for 10 hours without
Mm.
taking some time in this whole business sense to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. You could even ask yourself, you could just sit down. It could even be 1 minute and you can just remind yourself, like take a deep breath and say, who is this for? And I put yourself on that list. But you could also imagine like a particular avatar, a person that you're like, it's for this woman who just needs something to call her own at the end of the day, or who wants to just make something from her own hands. Like, think of who that is. And then also, what is this for? Like, what is that going to do for her? What is it going to do for me? And even truly, a minute, set a timer. I think you'll be surprised. Like, our brains do think faster than we can actually speak. So I'm sure your brain will be like, and then you could move into your work. So I think that'd be a good practice.
Well,
Speaking of next steps, though, those do still matter. Okay, you already made some progress there, which is great. Here's the thing that I think is going to help you decide what your actual next step is. And it's the truth that each step is the next step. Meaning we get stuck on what's next when we're looking at it, the whole list, and the list isn't even clear. It's just like this messed up brainstorm. Instead of looking at as my next step is going to be everything, or it has to be the right step, or the whole thing falls apart. It's more like, no, each step is just the next step. Meaning it's just like that first step you made to apply for your business. It felt like a first step. Well, what's the next first step? And then what's the next first step?
the picture I have in my mind is what I'm trying to do is build a tower, but every single block has to be like on top of the next. So if I don't have that block, I can't keep going. But really, it's just kind of like a pile of blocks. And as you build them up, it gets higher, right? You kind of just, like they don't really have to be one, because also that is not very structurally sound either.
You're building a
That was
foundation,
just like the
not a
vision
tower.
that came in while you were talking of just like the way that I have kind of been thinking about it is like, okay, I have to absolutely do the next step. I need to research and find what the next step is, where really just put a block down
Yeah.
and you can have a stronger foundation. I mean, even just like this much foundation versus this much foundation, like you just see visually, like that one's going to be a little bit stronger because it's wider, it can hold more. Whereas like one block on top, like that's going to topple really easily.
Yes, it'll be shaky. Yeah, I love that image of thinking, actually, I'm building a foundation, which means I can put a block here and I can put a block there. They may not be related, but one day they're going to be connected by other blocks that create the foundation for me to then build a building, not a singular tower. So I know Sharon McMahon says something about do the next needed thing. Some people say do the next best thing. So I'd also encourage you to say do the next easiest thing, like, or fun thing. It's all part of the same foundation. When I was beginning to write my book and it was like super overwhelming and I was looking at it like that tower, I thought one of the things that could help get my creativity flowing is if I just went on Canva and I created a fake book cover. And if anyone knows anything about publishing, whatever I make is not going to be the book cover. But doing that was kind of fun. It was a little bit different, but it still helped me get back to the vision of why it mattered. So I could actually sit down and write and do the scary thing like writing.
And I love that this is where it's connecting for me is you're taking the time to feed your vision, which in turn is going to get the book to other people. So this I think goes back to like the people pleasing of just like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to think about everybody else, how it's going to help everybody else. But I also need to be feeding my desire, my soul, because that's how you're going to get there, which it seems counterintuitive, right? Like doing
Yeah,
this for other people. So I need to pay attention to myself. That doesn't sound correct
it's
ish,
an and.
but it is. Yeah,
It's an
exactly. Like
and.
if I don't have anything to give, then I can't give it to anybody.
Hmm.
I don't know. That just was really cool, that connection.
Is there something that comes to mind? The next thing, whether it's needed or best or fun or easy, what's the next thing?
Um, honestly, I just am thinking of putting together like a little class, like just an ad that you right, like in Canva that you could put on Facebook, Instagram, things like
Yeah.
that. Also making it, I had another thought of just like making it more personal too. Like, hey, I'm starting this business because I want to pay off my credit cards because that's relatable to other people, right?
Yeah.
We're just like,
Yeah. You're
just
taking the fear and you're using it as part of the plan instead. Yeah,
yeah,
actually, let's make it everything is going to be personal in this business for
yeah,
them, for me.
this is me. I'm using my hands to try and do this, and you can't afford it. That's fine, but like this is my why a little bit. And once that's done, then I can go on something else. Or hey, that didn't work. It feels very like yeah, just more accessible, I guess. Of just like, what is one little thing that you can do? What's one thing that's sparking some more excitement?
You
Hmm.
talked about, this is all getting back to we're figuring out their next steps, which is really great practically, but also deeper, we're learning how to detach your identity from the outcome by weirdly validating your identity better and your own values and what you want. Um, so it's all of this seems like it shouldn't work together, but it does. Okay. So we got to add more and into your vocabulary and mindset about this all. And I think you're already doing that. So we know your next steps. We know maybe the practice you can have when you're working every day. And by the way, I often have to start with something that seems easy or fun or like a little thing just to get momentum going when I'm having a real fear driven day with any part of my work. So you made that just can become a way of doing your work too. And as you're doing it, Abbie, you're going to spiral up. Each time you do something, even though you start a day full of self doubt, but you somehow created an ad or you reached out to a potential vendor or you designed a product or whatever it's going to end up being, you can say, look, I'm doing it and I can trust myself and I can do something even while I'm afraid.
Like that affirmation piece.
Mm,
Finishing the cycle, right? Like if you
yeah.
only are looking at awareness, and I like that.
Yep. And that cycle spirals. Okay, great. I think we got it. I'd love to hear how it goes. You should send me an email. And oh my gosh, this is just so applicable to so many people who are at the starting line and want something. And I think this is going to help a lot of women. What do you want to make sure you remember the most from this call?
Obviously, like the adding more and realizing that like the reason I have the fear is because it's also part of my why. Where then that also makes fear seem and more invited, I guess. Where it's like, hey, if I have fear, that means that I have a deep why. And I just really like that where it's making even just fear less scary. Like it's okay that you have fear because that means that you have your why too. And so I'm just like, what? Like I can invite it in. I can, yeah,
Yeah.
come on in, take a seat. That just seems very counterintuitive. But as we invited the fear in, I've become more relaxed. And that's
Yeah.
odd.
I know, doesn't it? Yeah, you're going to be afraid every day. Also, you're probably going to hate your business. It's part of the course. Just expect it. When I used to teach beginning podcasters, you're going to hate your podcast in like 2 months. It doesn't mean you quit. It's part of the course. And in recognizing, accepting it, you can work through it differently and continue to shift the way you see yourself along the way. I can't wait for you. What an amazing challenge. And keep us updated. And we'd love to share about it too. Once you're fully launched, we'll share about it with the community too to celebrate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this call with me, Abbie. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful.
You are making so many good connections too. I was like, oh yeah. I hope this episode gave you the hug and kick in the pants you need to grow. I'll now share the progress pointers. These are the notes I took so you don't have to, and those on my newsletter get them in a graphic form each week. That graphic form is an expanded version of what you will hear right now. Number 1, fear can mean you care deeply. Number 2, you don't need to remove fear to move forward. Number 3, to move forward healthfully, learn to detach your identity from the outcome. Number 4, people pleasing can block self-trust. And number 5, progress is a spiral, not a straight line. Your do something challenge this week is to do what I basically told Abbie at the end. Do the next fun or easy thing. Just do that with whatever you are considering pursuing. And maybe that can include taking the How to Dream Again workshop that Abbie referenced. She came to the one I taught live, which is now a virtual replayable workshop ready for you at aboutprogress.com/workshops. This podcast is listener supported. Members of the Supporters Club make my work with About Progress free and available to all. They also get access to 3 levels of exclusive benefits, from more time to more content with me. I would invite you to check it all out and become a supporter by going to aboutprogress.com/support. And you can always support the show for free. One easy way to do that is to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And it's my birthday month, and I actually don't even use that qualifier in any other area of my life. But if you would like to honor me by honoring the show, I would especially appreciate a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. Now go and do something with what you learned today. Hold on, I had a thought and it just went away from my head, so I'm just giving it a second. It may come back in a second. That happens a lot, especially these days. Okay,